Dear 1Ls, congratulations on finishing the first semester of law school. That was no small feat. I hope as you're gearing up for the new semester, and for many of you, you're kicking in high gear, your search for your 1L summer job, you don't forget to pause and celebrate what you just did. Getting through law school, especially the first semester of law school, is not for the faint of heart. And trust me, pausing and celebrating what you just did before getting to the million things you have left doing, it is going to be a really good practice as life becomes busier. During the holidays, as you know, I work with a lot of students from pre-law to recent graduates, and a number of questions came my way, especially from 1Ls, so I decided to do a video about it. Question 1. What do I do if I bombed my first semester grades? Crafting and executing strategy is at the heart of being a good lawyer, whether it is writing a brief or assessing potential lawsuit and advising a client about it. Without good strategy, there's really no lawyering. So if you did in reality bomb out your first grades, you need to change strategy. And before we can craft a new strategy for improving the grades the second semester, first we need to collect some information. So here are some ideas. As quickly as you can, before you forget the topics that you covered last semester because you have a lot of classes coming up, if possible, go meet with your professors from the first semester, get a model answer, and sit down and try to assess where you went wrong. For those of you who have honors and passes, it will be very important for us to see where we fall in that really wide range of grades. It would also be very useful to find out, are we getting the rules wrong? Are we analyzing not adequately? And getting an idea of how we performed. Perhaps more importantly, as quickly as you can this semester, go meet with your current professors. It is so lonely to be a professor. You guys don't come talk to us. And I know some of you think, well, I don't know what to say. I'm taking contracts and I have no idea what this is about yet. Or I'm taking Civ Pro and maybe I should wait for a few months until I figure out, what's happening. Read your professor's bio and go and meet him or her. If their office hours don't work with your schedule, email and set up something else. It might even be better. Take some time to just get to know them, talk about their practice or their interest areas. And if it feels right at that moment or maybe the next meeting, ask them, what do you look for in your exams? What makes the difference between an A and a B? Tell them your goals. Tell them your story. Maybe you're the first person in your family to graduate college. Explain to them that this is all very new for you and you really want to do well. And if possible, get a model answer from them so as you're studying, you can keep what you're moving towards in mind. Next, find a 2L who took your current course. If you're looking at outlines, make sure you're using an outline from a student that abjured this course or at the very least got an A. If you are successful in finding a 2L that aced your course, your instinct might be, oh great, I'll get their outline and I'll be set. I find that it is in the process that a lot of law students master the topic and are able to do well, not necessarily the knowledge they get from an outline or a commercial outline or their casebook. So if you find a great 2L who's aced the course, is super helpful, ask them, what's their general study strategy? Do they look at commercial outlines? How soon do they start looking at commercial outlines? And if you have good rapport and this 2L is open to it, maybe they can, tutor you. If you invest and pay for a tutor that took that same course and aced that same course, I wonder how sharply you can improve those grades. Question 2. Is it important where I work my 1L year? My answer is yes and no. It is not important. It is not the end of the world. Your life or your future will not be ruined if you just don't get your ideal job the first summer. As a matter of fact, not even after graduation. I have known several people who went to unranked law schools. Going to a big law firm was completely close to them at the time they graduated. They went and worked for a tiny firm and did really good work and showed their lawyering skills. And 3 to 4 years out, they went to a big law firm and now they are a partner and they have really succeeded. So if somebody tells you it can be done, it either means it can be done now, and it can also mean they just don't have the skills to teach you how to get there indirectly in a non-traditional way. The 1L summer jobs in big firms are extremely competitive. There are a lot of recruiting receptions. There are a lot of diversity fellowships. And of course, the goal is to be able to get, if that's the path you want to go towards, to get one of those jobs in your 1L summer. But understand that one, if you don't get it, even if you end up getting 10 callbacks and you don't convert, of course, there are things we can do to improve your interviewing. But in the majority of cases, what I have found out is how you do in your 1L Biglaw recruiting season is not indicative of how you're going to do where they will all line up to recruit you right before your 12-year starts in on-campus interviews. In what way is where you work important, very important in your 1L year? 2 categories. First, the ability to talk intelligently and hopefully passionately about what you did last summer. So let's, fast forward. It is like June and July and you're going to firm recruiting receptions or job fairs. It's August, you're doing on-campus interviewing, and they will ask you a lot of questions in these interviews about your grades, about law school, but they'll also ask you about what did you do this summer. If you can talk about that experience and show your intelligence, maybe you got exposed to a novel practice area and you can talk about that, or skills you gained. If you can talk about it in an intelligent way and highlight, why you want to work for this new firm, why you're interested in what you're interested in, then in that sense, certain jobs will give you that ability better than others because they're more relevant to the job you ultimately want in your 12 summer and post-graduation. And the second way it's really important is in deciding where you're going to work your 1L summer, we want to balance, or in other words, we want to avoid any unintentional tilts towards something in our resume. So let me give you an example. If you have worked for 2 or 3 years after college and you did a lot of public sector, and now in your 1L summer, you do public sector, if your grades are straight A's, it might not prevent you from getting the position you want. But when you look at your entire application and you do an assessment, how highly ranked is your law school? What are your grades after the semester? You want to keep that in mind. So if you already think like those things might end up being on the weaker side or the average side, and in the interviews, you're going to have to rebut certain presumptions that are going to be made because of those factors in your application, you might want to balance the resume. If you have a lot of public sector stuff, work for a small firm and do business litigation, trademark, work for a company so you can talk intelligently about you saw how things work, the processes, the legal strategy, the business strategy that is done at the client. Work for a judge, so whether you want to do litigation or not, you can intelligently talk about jurisprudence. Third question. What do I do at all these firm recruiting or homecoming receptions? I know there are plenty of them going on right now, and there's food and drinks and a bunch of lawyers, hopefully in a good close ratio to the number of students that attend these events. And advanced networking is a pretty dense topic, but let me give you some basic tips to hopefully make these things not just palatable, but a little bit enjoyable. So one rule that I like to exercise myself, because as some of you know, I'm 4'11", and when I go to events like that, sometimes I get overwhelmed by just like the crowd around me, as extroverted as I am. So my one rule is try to have one meaningful connection and conversation. So don't focus so much on what your classmates are doing. They met 5 people there and they came and said they met the hiring partner, but you were just there talking to an associate. You've showed up, they have you on your RSVP list, you have one meaningful conversation with an associate, with a recruiter, with a partner, and you can take it from there. So don't miss out on being present and enjoying learning about this human being standing across from you, their practice area, their choices, their advice they have for you, because you're just trying to work the room. Next advice is don't be a name tag. What do I mean by that? You'll be surprised how many law student no-shows there are. I know you guys are busy and a lot of things come up, but I want you to remember that if you RSVP to something, it is very likely that somebody put you on an Excel chart, somebody ran a name tag, and at the end of the day, you don't want to be that loose name tag of a no-show. If things come up, maybe you got an interview, whatever is going on, have your what I call host manners. Write back and say, I RSVP to this thing. I wish I could make it, but something has come up. I'm still remain really interested in the firm, and just show your appreciation. If you haven't RSVP'd yet, reach out and say, well, I really wanted to make it to this, but I can't, but I'm interested in the firm. In situations where we can't perform, sometimes we're just like, well, that was my shot. But if you handle that professionally, that can also result in success. Next thing, dress flexibly. Students have a problem with, well, I know I'm kind of interviewing, so I should wear a suit, but they said business casual, lawyers dress down in Silicon Valley, what should I do? So for, both ladies and gentlemen, my rule is you are the one interviewing. So if you are wearing a suit, as long as, in your conversation, you're casual and friendly enough, that is not going to count against you. So I would dress in a way where I can walk in there with the suit on. And if I see I am overdressed, then you can take your jacket off. You can go to the bathroom and take the tie off. I know that if you start working as a summer associate and after a week of people saying you don't need to wear a tie, you're still doing that, that might be weird. But at these receptions, trust me, lawyers are nice and understanding. The recruiters are nice and understanding. So if you end up wearing a suit and nobody else is, it is not a big deal and you can just take your jacket off. And I would like to end this as far as how to conduct yourself at these recruiting receptions to make them more enjoyable. Maya Angelou has this great quote where she gets across that people remember how you made them feel, not so much what you said to them. It's that same concept that makes you a good networker and then ultimately a good interviewee. So when you're talking to these individuals, you're not there to sell your resume, sell your why you really want to be a lawyer, why you really want to, practice there. If they ask you, of course, you want to answer those questions, but your focus should really be in that really refreshing, youthful curiosity where you're asking people about their practice areas, where they went to law school, why did they decide on their firm, and tons of other questions you can ask to make them feel that they are providing you advice, they're mentoring you, and their presence there, they could be doing so many other things, billable hour, hanging out with their family, but they're at that reception meeting you. So when they walk away from that conversations, it should have been an enjoyable process and you'll get plenty of chances to sell them on all the other good stuff. And finally, how can Practice Pro help? So many of you know we have a 1L Diversity Scholar program, but we also do career coaching, anything from a short consult to 1-hour sessions to entire coaching packages for law students of any level. If you are interested to learn more, I will link below the information we have about our coaching consults. And you can always comment below or email us at Practice Pro if you have questions, and hopefully I'll compile them and make another video that help you in this journey. Relax. I guarantee it's going to be okay.